too.
You would fill this out, and this is saying that you're not going to be a member of Social Security if you're taking it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Welcome to the reorganizational meeting for Kenton City School District. Time in is 7 o'clock. Administer the oath of office for new board members. So we have Sam and Sheena here.
Okay. All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as members of the Board of Education of the Kenton City School District, Hardin County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter during your continuance in office and until your successor is elected and qualified? The answer is I do.
I do.
I do.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
If you would like to sign that.
Okay, roll call members.
Mr. Albert, Mr. Carmian, Mr. Rush,
Here.
Ms. Stryker,
Here.
Mr. Watkins.
Here.
Okay, election of president, ORC 3313.11. Do I have a nomination for president?
Yes, Mr. President, I nominate you, Mark Rush, as president. What?
Motion to accept.
We have to- yeah. That was his
Second.
motion.
Yeah.
I'll second.
All right. Discussion. All right, vote.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Stryker,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Albert.
Yes.
Okay, item 5, election of vice president. Do I have a nomination for vice president?
I nominate Mark Watkins.
All right. Second.
Second.
All right. Discussion.
Ms. Stryker,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Rush.
Yes. Okay, item 6, establishment of date and time and location of regular meetings. I would entertain a motion for a third Monday of the month at 7 o'clock at the board office. Do I have a motion?
Watkins.
Second? All right. Discussion? All right, vote.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Stryker.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, item 7 is authorization for the treasurer to request advance draws of tax settlements up to $600,000 each. Do I have a motion?
Stryker.
Second?
I second.
All right. Discussion? And vote?
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Stryker,
Yes.
Mr. Watkins.
Yes.
Okay, item 8, authorization for the treasurer to invest in and inactive funds as deemed appropriate to gain the best interest rate. Motion to accept.
Watkins.
Second.
Stryker.
Discussion. And vote.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Stryker, Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Albert.
Okay, item 9 is designation of purchasing agent for the establishment of maximum allowable single purchases without prior board authorization. Purchasing Jennifer Penzarski. Maximum allowable single purchase amount $25,000. Motion to accept.
Albert.
Second.
Watkins.
Discussion. And vote.
Mr. Watkins,
Yes.
Mr. Albert,
Yes.
Mr. Rush,
Yes.
Ms. Stryker.
Yes.
Okay, authorization of cafeteria manager, maintenance supervisor, technology supervisor, transportation supervisor to purchase supplies and materials up to a maximum of $2,500 per order. Do I have a motion to accept?
Stryker.
Watkins.
All right, discussion? And vote?
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Okay, item 11 is authorization for superintendent to approve staff member attendance at professional meetings. Motion to accept.
Albert.
Second.
Watkins.
Discussion. And vote.
Okay. Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
All right,
Do we want to give
Yeah.
him his oath?
let's do the oath for Mr. Carmine. Tracy?
I apologize.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties Board of Education of the Kenton City School District, Hardin County, Ohio, to the best of your ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office and until your successor is elected and qualified? And the answer is I do.
I do.
Okay. Okay, item 12 is the committee appointments. So to read them off here, audit and finance would be Rush and Watkins. Facilities transportation would be Watkins and Carmine. Personnel is Watkins and Stryker. Curriculum and instruction is Rush and Stryker. Business and Education Council is Carmine. Cafeteria is Albert and Stryker. Co-curricular music and athletics is Rush and Albert. OSBA legislative liaison is Albert. Parks and Rec is Carmine. Miller. R.E. Allen Scholarships, Stryker. Records Commission has to be the president, so that's Rush. Policy Committee is Rush and Carmine. And our Ohio High Point Career Center rep will continue to be Russ Blue. He's in his final year of the 3-year. Do I have a motion to accept?
Watkins.
Second.
Albert.
Discussion. And vote.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Okay. Item 13, appointment. Jennifer Pinzarski is the Title IX Compliance Officer and Title VI Coordinator. Motion to accept.
Watkins.
Second.
Stryker.
All right, discussion. And vote.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
All right. Item 14, appointment. Michelle Wise is the Section 504 Coordinator. Motion to accept.
Stryker.
Second.
Carmine.
All right, Carmine. And discussion. And vote.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins? Mr. Albert?
Yes.
All right. And motion to adjourn the reorganizational meeting. I have 7:10.
Watkins.
Second.
Albert.
Discussion. And vote.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So now we'll move on to the regular scheduled meeting, 7:11. Roll call members, please.
Mr. Albert?
Present.
Mr. Carmine?
Present.
Mr. Rush?
Here.
Ms. Stryker? Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
All right, Pledge of Allegiance. All right, Item 3 is approval and/or correction of the minutes of the regular meeting on December 18th. Do I have a motion?
Watkins.
Second? All right, any discussion? And vote.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
All right, no showcase tonight. Principal supervisor report. So we move on to 5, which is public participation. So I'll turn it over to Jen.
So every year, we're required to talk about our school calendar, and so we'll present some options tonight, and then in February, you'll be asked to vote on a school calendar for the upcoming year. That way, the public has a full month to be able to give input, to ask questions, and you as well. So if there are things that you have questions about. So under 5A, we're required to say the total number of hours that each building will be in session, as well as the length of the school day and the school start and stop times. So none of that has changed. We've been on the same schedule, I think, since the new building opened. So those are all in place. Then the second section, what you'll see is the beginning and end dates of school, and that's dependent on the calendar that is selected. And so the way that calendars are created in the district is there is a committee that creates 2 options, when sometimes we've had 3. Those options go to our entire staff. That's all of our classified, certified, and administrative, and they're allowed to give the board input. They vote. And so that vote is occurring right now. The majority of what I have right now is leaning towards calendar B. But you'll get all that data on the different categories of staff members, as well as what their opinion is. Then based on that information, you're asked to vote for a calendar in February. The nice thing is I can tell you that we've worked really hard to make sure that the district can provide a quality education with either calendar. So we've got them structured in such a way that we're able to do the teacher PD and PD's professional development when we need to, and we're also able to provide student in-seat days, if you will, so that there's enough days per 9 weeks and those kinds of things. So I think that covers the actual requirements. You'll have a calendar A and a calendar B, and I'll just run you through it real quick if you've had a chance to look at it. Calendar A is a calendar where it is important that we end the first semester, which would be second 9 weeks, before Christmas. And the reason is that we struggle when we come back for Christmas for students being in session 1 to 2 weeks and then the semester ending. So that's what the biggest difference is with calendar A. It's a hard push at the front of the year to get the first semester in before Christmas break. Now, by doing that, this is often called the fair not off week calendar. You've heard the 2 calendars that Kenton offers, and that would be the non-fair week calendar. If you look, the disadvantage for me when I look at calendar A is the Christmas break piece. It's always a challenge, but we're off a lot in January after Christmas. But understand the semester's over, so there's a reason for that. And those brown boxes, like that's the teacher's records day, which is just what we had on Friday. So hopefully that gives you a little insight on calendar A. Calendar B then would be traditionally known as the fair off calendar. And so that gives us the entire week off for fair. It also pushes second semester to end, you'll see, in January. And so the hardest part this year, it's the most similar to the calendar we're on right now. The biggest challenge are those 3-day weekends didn't fall so perfect this year. And sometimes it feels to me like we have a lot more long weekends on that calendar than we usually do, and they're not all lined up. So luckily this year and in previous years, we've been able to make some 4-day weekends with Fridays and Mondays off, and it just didn't fall that way. And so that, some of it does, but not all. So we'll work through it, but those are the two options. I think graduation and all of those things are all the same on all the calendars because I know that that's important, which is typically the Saturday of Memorial Day weekend, which I think falls on the 25th on both calendars. So all the student days get in and those pieces are all in place. There is one thing missing from your calendar, and it's only because we're still trying to work it out. Our kindergartners have always gotten 4 days off because we have to do kindergarten and preschool screening. It's the only way we can do it. Kindergarten has always had a spring break. This year, we're looking at some different options, but we only have 3 days written in for kindergarten screening. It's your bright fluorescent pink, happens about April. And so we're going to probably need to look at a 4th day. Not sure if we want the 4th day to be in that 3-day week or if we need something a little later, a different day, maybe a long weekend, that kind of thing. So that would be my only challenge, would be that the kindergarten screening, you're going to expect another day. I just don't know where it will fall just yet. So do you have any questions about either calendar or how to read them? And as you proceed over the course of the next month until we meet again in February, feel free to ask questions. And again, I'll send you all the staff input on which calendar.
Okay. All right. Item 6, reports of the treasurer. Approve the following December 31st, 2017 reports: cash position, check register, receipt ledger, investment report, journal entries, and budget versus actual. Do I have a motion to accept?
Albert.
Second.
Watkins.
Discussion?
As was mentioned in the finance meeting, I don't know if you had a chance to look at the financials that were in the, on the budget versus actual, my payroll person got a little happy and she posted a January payroll that hit in my December financials. So that's kind of why you would see that there was a big variance. And then that also took into account our first payment into the HSA. So the benefit amount was really, overstated for the month of December. Mark goes, why was that so high? So I was like, yeah, I was going to tell you. Yeah, so it'll even out because obviously, then only one will hit this month. And none of the HSA will hit, and only half the rest of the benefits will hit in the month of January. So just wanted to explain that so you were like, why did we go so crazy that month? So hopefully it'll even out.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right. Vote, please.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
All right. Item 7, superintendent's reports.
Just know that this week will start the beginning of third 9 weeks, and we'll just go ahead and announce it. No, tomorrow that will start 2 hours later. So we will be on a 2-hour delay tomorrow morning. My phone's blowing up, so we'll just go ahead and call it publicly and do the other call a little later. So maybe just take a minute to let you know how calamity is called and how that all works. Is that we have several people around the county that drive for us, including myself, and so we go and we check different aspects and different roads. Fog is probably the most challenging because we have to, it never stays in one place and it always pops up differently. So those are factors that we actually drive for, and tonight it's road condition and the continued snow. And so I think you're going to see delays across the county. The other thing would be wind chill and temperature, which is always a big mark. And so we are a district where kids can walk up to 2 miles. That's not typical for every school in Hardin County, so wind chill hits us hard. We also have kids that stand out a significant time for bus pickup. And so usually when we get below 0 in a wind chill, we'll look at a delay, and that looks like where we're going to be tomorrow as well. So there was kind of a double whammy for tomorrow. Usually when we get into those double digits is when we really have to strongly consider how long will our kids be exposed to weather and whether or not we have to cancel. So usually sometimes it can be beautiful out and the roads can be clear, but we could be at a -20 and I can't have my kids walking in those kind of temperatures, if you will. So that's how we go about calling calamity and delays, and we always tell you, if for some reason we make a call that doesn't meet your expectation as a parent and you don't feel that it's safe, that's your right as a parent. We do our best to make calls and we do our best to make a district decision, but sometimes things can change and there are different decisions that have to be made at a personal family level. Also, just to let you know, if there are any families that are in need of warm clothing, whether it comes to coats or gloves or scarves or maybe even boots, things like that, we can work with you to get those. We have many providers that are willing to help and support. So we'll do everything we can to keep people warm. You would just need to contact your building, if that makes sense, middle, elementary, high. That's all I have.
All righty. We'll move on to item 8, which is the board committee reports, and start with finance.
Yes, we just met briefly before this meeting started, so just had a couple things we talked about. Finalizing of some of the transition to what do you call that thing?
Financial software.
New software system that keeps track of things. And part of that's incorporated time tracks. And so basically he's working on getting that system up and running. And I don't know what your timeline was, but hopefully maybe by the end of the month, maybe.
No, I don't know that it's going to be that quick, but yeah, Brian and I are ready to go. I just have to get out there to train the bus drivers.
So all those kind of things, anybody ever been through a transition of software at any level, you know, it has challenges, and so there's been challenges. I think it's a positive development. I mean, it's going to be a lot better system, but there's just a lot involved with it, and so the main part of it's working. We're just working through some of the more fine details with it, and that's fine. We also talked about the bus garage project and some of the timetable of that and some of the issues there. So it's moving forward. It's going to take a little while to get it finalized, but we're in a good situation, and the new owners of our old bus garage are working with us, so that's helpful too, and so we'll get there.
All right. Facilities, which...
Yeah, it's back to me, but other than what I just said, I really...
They're moving along on the internal renovations of the building and what we can do that weather's not prohibiting, if you will.
Is there any other facility issues at this time?
The only thing we're still working on, and it kind of falls into athletics, would be the flooring of the new athletic building. It's just trying to find the right kind of turf and getting some assurance, because the school district will pay for that flooring, and we have heated floors. So it's just kind of working through and getting that finalized. But I think everything's going really well with the athletic building. I heard anything, and it looks like it's all enclosed, at least last time I was by. So.
Yeah.
Good. On to extracurricular. Things are moving along and so on. We got a lot of hires tonight for spring sports, so all's well there. Career Center. So I don't...
Russ will report on those when he attends, and in February, Dr. Smith will be here from High Point to present their levy so that we can better understand their bond issue for new facilities.
All right, and then on policy, still discussing, the drug policy, and we got a couple meetings scheduled for next week. If people sign up on the 22nd and the 24th. First one is at the middle school at 5. 5. And then 5:30 on the 24th at the high school. So those are still planned and still kind of working through getting some feedback from the community. So that's where we stand on that situation. Okay, on to old business. I don't think we have any. Is there any old business? New business, we have personnel items. We have 10A, B, C, D, E. I said earlier, a lot of those are the hires for spring sports.
I see we have new tennis coach, so I knew Keith Kissling has done it for a number of years, did a nice job, and appreciate what he did there. I knew he was thinking it was about time to move on from that, and so it looks like he has.
Yeah.
But,
Good job coaching.
Yeah.
Coach both of my kids, and
yeah.
they both
Keith did a
thought
nice job.
Keith's a great guy, so. Okay, motion to accept.
Stryker? Oh,
All right, got both of those? All right.
Which way you want me to go with it?
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
Watkins and then Stryker. All
Okay.
right, so any discussion? And vote.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
yes.
Actually, I know we already did discussion, and it's good that it's approved, but I probably just should explain to everyone, sometimes our coaches share stipends. It also gives you some more manpower, maybe some people have conflicts and more support for kids. So that's why you'll see like it says a third or half. It just means that people are sharing it. This one got a little complicated because there's actually 2 positions that people are sharing. So there were a lot of fractions on there, if you will. So just when you see those, know that it may be that one person couldn't commit fully or because 2 people wanted to support a team. So that's what you'll see.
So the fact that the player or the coaches are listed more than once doesn't.
It just depends on the stipend that they're receiving and the percentage they're receiving it at. So if they're receiving 2 stipends and they're at a third on both stipends, it will appear twice. Their names will. So I just thought it's more just of a clerical thing so that you understand how those stipends work. They're complicated. That's Tracy's world.
Okay, authorizations and resolutions, read through all this, but approve the coordination between Kenton City Schools and Hardin County Emergency Management Agency. Basically allowing them to use our buses in the case of an emergency is really what this involves. And then 11B is approving mileage reimbursement to be set what the IRS rate is at 54.5 cents. So motion to accept.
Watkins.
And a second.
Carmine?
Discussion. And vote.
Mr. Albert?
Yes.
Mr. Carmine?
Yes.
Mr. Rush?
Yes.
Ms. Stryker?
Yes.
Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Okay. I have adjournment time at 7:29. And the next regular board meeting is February 19th,
And-
7 o'clock.
Yep, and we may just want to make it known that the board will have, it will probably be scheduled as a work session, I'm not 100% sure, but we'll be working with Ohio School Boards Association on, it looks like Monday, the 29th of January, and that's just going through some nuts and bolts of being a board member and how board meetings work, those kinds of things. So that will be on the 29th. And then if you guys will also check your emails for me, Linda has sent out information about a couple more board trainings that you could attend or that we can all attend. There's several different ones. So if you have any questions about any of those emails, just let me know. And if you have interest, Linda is your contact for registration. She'll do all that for you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
The home was reported to be vacant and went up in flames and is listed as a